Greetings all around the Seven Kingdoms, my friends, and welcome to my season finale review of Season 6 of Game of Thrones, The Winds of Winter. And let's talk about that ominous beginning with the music, and you see everyone preparing for the trials, from Cersei to Margaery to Tommen to Loras. You see Pycelle going to the keep, and he's called on by this child who tells him a secret, and he goes in another direction. We also have Loras coming into his trial, admitting to his crimes, confessing in front of the High Sparrow and I guess the Low Sparrows, as well as confessing in front of the gods, and then he is mutilated by the High Sparrow. And you see that Margaery wasn't counting on this. She didn't want this to happen to Loras, and apparently the High Sparrow gave her his word. So he lied, and then they are ready for Cersei's trial, but Cersei is not there. No, Cersei is in a room in the Red Keep. She's drinking a glass of wine, as Tommen is as well in his own room, looking on, and then he tries to go, but he is stopped by Sir Gregor Clegane. That's right. The guy just stops him, and here the kid actually acted. Look at this shot. He is so afraid here. I'll be the first to admit it didn't make sense, but at this moment I really thought that Gregor Clegane was going to kill him for some reason. So anyway, as this is going on, we see Pycelle going to this secret chamber, this dark chamber, and he's suddenly confronted by Qyburn. Sometimes the old just have to go. And suddenly he's surrounded by like 10 kids or so, and they stab away at him. Pycelle dies. Qyburn smiles as he does, and I really enjoy this scene. For those of you who don't know, this scene of Pycelle dying, stabbed away by children, is actually a scene from the books. However, in the books it's not Qyburn and Pycelle who are in this situation, but Sir Kevan Lannister and Varys. That's right. There's a scene in the books where Kevan Lannister goes into his office because he's the hand of the king at the time, and suddenly he is stabbed away by children. He's left in his chair to die, to bleed out, and Varys emerges from the shadows. That was a really great scene. I like to see that scene finally in the show, and I really don't mind that it is with other characters. I really don't mind the setup for what they are doing in the show. I like that the show is standing on its own. I love the books, and I love this show as well, so I had no problems with that, but I was really happy to understand that reference and to finally see that scene transmitted into a visual medium. The High Sparrow sees that Cersei is not coming into the trial, and he tells Lancel and some of his other men to go and get her and tell her to come here. So as all the people are waiting inside the Sept for Cersei, Lancel goes out and he sees this kid running away through some stairs and into the tunnels. Lancel goes after him, and he tells the other men to go and get Cersei. Well, what happens? Lancel goes and searches for his kid. Then he gets into this dark hallway, and he tells the kid to come out. It's only gonna be worse if he takes too long. Suddenly the kid stabs him, and honestly I couldn't tell you where he stabbed him, but apparently it was in a really tight spot for Lancel because he can't walk after that. But what does he see beyond, in the far end of the corridor? Wildfire. And what is next to the wildfire as Lancel is dragging himself on the ground and the wildfire is spilling? But two candles, almost burnt out. You see Cersei looking on in her window, and then you see Lancel almost reaching the candle to blow it away, and boom! Everything goes out, the High Sparrow is blown away, all the Tyrells are blown away. Well, not all of them, we'll talk about that. Everyone dies, Kevan Lannister, people on the street are killed by a flying bell, Cersei looks on, Tommen is shocked at what he sees, Cersei smiles, and this is just the beginning, my friends. These first 10 minutes of the episode were fantastic. Masterful directing, masterful acting, masterful sound. Oh my god, the music was so great, so atmospheric to this scene. This very long scene where it's all set up and suddenly a big explosive payoff. No pun intended. So right after this, we have Septa Unella trapped in this kind of stretcher. It's not a stretcher, but I won't call it a bed. And Cersei's pouring wine on her face, telling her to confess, 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 confess that it felt good to torture her, to starve her, to shave her, to walk her all over King's Landing naked, from the Sept to the Red Keep, or otherwise, I can't remember, and it felt good to torture her. Now it's Cersei's turn to torture her, but Septa Unella just smiles and tells her that she's ready to meet the gods. Well, Cersei smiles back to her, and she tells her that she won't die today, it will take a long time to die. Gregor Clegane walks in, Cersei presents him, and you see that he has his helmet out. He suddenly just goes and stands near the bed. You start to hear Septa Unella to scream, and Cersei walks away from that chamber and she starts saying, shame, shame, shame. She locks the doorway, she closes that little thing that lets you see to the cell. I don't know what Gregor Clegane was doing. I don't know if Septa Unella was just screaming at seeing his face, but I would be surprised if you find out if he eventually raped her. And I don't think having sex with a zombie is very much of a good thing, so I'm glad, because I hate Septa Unella. I was so glad to see Cersei getting her revenge. I don't like Cersei either. I mean, she's a villain, that's what I mean by don't like her, but I love the character, I love the actress. Cersei's such an evil bitch, however, it was great to see her getting her vengeance. And what comes next is something that made me just smile and crack myself up laughing, and I have to show you guys my reaction at seeing it. So let's check this out. What the fuck is this? Jesus Christ, that cloud of smoke is big. It's half the scroll. I still hear the people scream. Tommen killed himself. That is so fucking awesome. I love it. 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 Woo! Yes! Yes! I love that scene. Oh my god, that was awesome. Congratulations. That was fucking A. So then we go to the twins. We have this big dinner celebration. Walder Frey celebrating the fact that he finally defeated the Tullys once again. And then we have Jaime and Bronn. They're having their banter. Bronn is complaining about how Jaime can get any girl without needing to do anything. They want his golden hand inside them. And Bronn is just complaining. And you have this girl constantly staring at Jaime Lannister. And remember this girl's face, not only because she's pretty, alright, but you will need to remember her face eventually, and that is one of the best scenes in this episode. So then Jaime, being a good friend, he presents two girls to Bronn, he walks away with them, and then Walder Frey sits down next to Jaime Lannister, and he starts gloating about his once again victory against the Tullys. He starts complaining about how the Tullys and the Starks always mocked him, and Jaime has started to mock him as well. Then Jaime complains, if we the Lannisters have to rescue you every time you stand up against any other house, why do we need you? As in, why do we need you alive? Love the scene. Jaime doesn't even let him answer, and he walks away, and this was built up to something else. This would be eventually pay off in this episode, so don't you worry. But prepare to say goodbye to Filch. We have Sam and Gilly arriving at the Citadel, and they go into the reception, and of course the receptionist is an asshole, as it is every single time you get to any reception in this world, my friends. Well, the receptionist has no word that Jon Snow is the new Lord Commander. According to the records, Jeor Mormont is still the Lord Commander. Master Aemon couldn't let the Citadel know, and Sam gets taken into the library, and I love the decoration of the library. The chains around the books. Sam goes into this main centerpiece of the room and he sees these compasses on the ceiling. I know they're maybe not compasses. Please forgive me for not knowing the correct word for this thing, but I loved seeing this. And the shots they took in this are probably the same shots you see in the opening of Game of Thrones. And it was a really ominous scene to see a character look at these things, and it felt like this character was in the intro of the episode. I can't really explain how it felt great to see this, but it really did. It was very satisfying, and now I can't wait to see Sam becoming a maester. So now we go to Winterfell, and we have Jon Snow sharing a story of his family with Melisandre about how one day at feasts in Winterfell he used to sit in the opposite corner of his family. Melisandre just tells him, at least you had a family, you had feasts. Jon Snow realizes, yeah, I was a pretty lucky guy. Foreshadowing once again, my friends, that's how it works over here. And it was very satisfying to see the payoff for that foreshadowing. More on that later. Davos comes in, he throws a little stag piece at Melisandre, and he tells her to tell Jon Snow what she did. She confesses to Jon Snow, she tells them both why she did it. Stannis wanted it, Shireen's mother wanted it, they all wanted it, and then Davos completely breaks down. Great acting on Liam Cunningham's part, as always. He loved the little girl as she was his own, and then Stannis lost anyway. There was no need to do that, and there was no payoff for doing that. So now Jon Snow expels Melisandre from Winterfell. She has to ride south, and if she ever comes back, Jon Snow will hang her as a murderer. Davos blocks her way as she's walking out, and he tells her, if you ever come this way again, I will execute you myself. We see Melisandre going away on her horse, Jon Snow looking on in the walls of Winterfell. In comes Sansa, and by the way, I love this shot of two Starks, yes, two Starks, finally standing on the walls of Winterfell, covered in snow. The winter has finally come. They start talking about who should rule Winterfell. Jon Snow tells Sansa he has a room ready for her, and those are their parents' room, well, at least their father's room. Not really though. And we have Sansa tell him, you should take it. And Jon Snow tells her, I'm a bastard. You're not. But she should take it because she's the rightful lady of Winterfell. She apologizes for not telling him about Baelish and the Knights of the Vale. He tells her they should not fight a war in their own. They have many enemies to come, and they should stand together. As Jon Snow walks away, Sansa tells him that a white raven has finally come from the Citadel, which means winter is finally here. Jon Snow looks up to the sky as the snow is falling, and he smiles and says, Father promised, didn't he? Yes, he did, Jon Snow. Yes, he did. We have a cameo from Dorne, my friends. Ellaria Sand and the Sand Snakes having a meeting with Olenna Tyrell, and they are speaking about uniting their forces to fight the Lannisters. They've both been betrayed by them. The Lannisters have declared war on both their families, and Olenna Tyrell just tells her, I have nothing. Cersei stole my future. My granddaughter, my grandson, my son. I have nothing. Ellaria Sand tells her, I have something to offer you. I have something to offer you that you need. And Olenna Tyrell just says, what do you have to offer me, child? I have nothing I need from you. Ellaria Sand rings a bell, and in comes Varys, and he offers two words. Fire and blood. We go to Meereen to have a really sad scene. We have Daenerys and Daario having a conversation about how she will have to leave him here. She can't take him to the Seven Kingdoms. She can't have a mistress, a masteress, whatever. She can't have a concubine like that, someone not from royalty. And you have Daario just distraught. And apparently so is Daenerys until the following scene. This scene completely destroyed me, having to see Daario go, not going with her. If that happens in the books, I will be really sad reading that because George R.R. Martin just writes so well. But this was a really sad scene. It's sad that we won't see Daario not even fighting in the war for Daenerys to take the throne. But right after that, we have Daenerys going to Tyrion, and they have this conversation about how she felt nothing letting this man go. This man who really loved her. He was not the first to love her. He won't be the last, I am sure of that, tells Tyrion to Daenerys. And then Daenerys tells him, I have something for you. And she gives him the hand of the king, or in this case the hand of the queen, pin, and she tells him that she doesn't need his sword, she needs his counsel. She will conquer the Seven Kingdoms with this counsel, and that is the most important thing. Tyrion kneels before her. It is a really great scene with great acting and great dialogue between two great characters. We go back to the twins and we have this beautiful shot of a completely empty room except for Walder Frey at the center table, and it's a really great shot because previously, on the previous scene in the twins, you had the same shot but the room was full of light, full of sound, full of life, full of party, and now it's just Walder Frey at the center table, and in comes that girl who was constantly staring at Jaime Lannister as he sat on his table. The girl serves a slice of cake to Walder Frey and he asks her, "Where are my children? Black Walder and Lothar, I want them here." Well, the girl tells him, "They're here, my lord." And he tells her, "Where are they?" She tells him, "They're here." He takes off the upper part of the cake and he sees this, I guess, a tooth. I can't really see what he saw. But then Walder Frey is shocked. He was about to eat the children, and who is it but the girl takes her face off, and it's Arya fucking Stark! Yes! Woo! Yes! Arya finally gets the fucking revenge on the Freys. Walder Frey dies. She just sees him and she smiles and his blood coming out of his throat. I love this fucking scene. Yes! Woo! We have a scene in the Gardens of Winterfell between Sansa and Littlefinger. Littlefinger reveals to her he wants the Iron Throne. He wants the Vale, to be married to Winterfell, and he wants to be the king of Westeros, and Sansa sitting beside him because he completely still sees Catelyn when he looks at her. Sansa refuses. She doesn't want that. She doesn't want to be queen of Westeros. She doesn't want to marry him. Baelish is not satisfied, and he doesn't believe that anyone will stand next to Jon Snow because Sansa believes that. She doesn't want to be the Lady of Winterfell either. She wants Jon Snow to lead Winterfell, to be the rightful lord of Winterfell. And we're going to have some payoff right here that will screw Peter Baelish over. Then we have Benjen Stark saying he has to go. He can't go through the wall, he can't pass the wall, he can't go south. So he leaves Bran and Mira next to an old tree and he walks away, going to fight to defend them and the Seven Kingdoms. We say goodbye to Benjen, even though he did nothing except to save them that one time after Hodor died. Fuck, why did I have to remember that? Bran drags himself on the ground, Mira helps him, and he touches the tree, and he continues to see the vision that was stopped when Ned Stark heard the scream from the Tower of Joy, and this was a very satisfying scene. He walks into the tower, he walks into the room, he sees Lyanna Stark filled with blood. She tells him she isn't strong enough, she's not going to survive, but he has to promise her. He has to protect him, otherwise Robert will kill him. He knows that. Promise her, Ned. Promise her, Ned. Promise her, Ned. He has ended the baby, and Ned looks onto the baby. We lock on and we zoom in to the black eyes of the baby, and suddenly we zoom out and we see Jon Snow finally revealed to be the son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. Finally! This was such a relief. Such a great relief for fans of the books who have theorized about this for years, for maybe decades, because the book started coming out in the 80s, I believe. And then fans of the show who heard about this theory and were like, no, this doesn't make sense. And other fans were like, oh my god, yes, I want to see that so bad. It was a relief above anything else. It's not even a matter of telling each other, I was right, you were wrong, or I was wrong, you were right. No, it's such a relief to finally having this payoff to a thing that you were so sure about. But in the back of your mind, you always thought, maybe not. Maybe I could be wrong. And this thing that I'm hoping for and wanting for is not going to be the truth. Well, my friends, it is. Jon Snow is a Stark. He's a Targaryen, he's the rightful lord of Westeros, he is the nephew of Daenerys Targaryen, and he's going to sit on the Iron Throne. As we zoom out from Jon Snow's cold black eyes, we see him meeting with the other lords and houses who help him in this battle of the bastards in that main diner hall. We have Lord Royce being an asshole, telling people he won't stand for the bastard, and a bastard who brought wildlings and other miscellaneous crews to the Battle of the Bastards to fight for the North. Well, every single person wants to be there for him, including the little badass Lyanna Mormont. She tells everyone Jon Snow is a Stark, Ned Stark's blood runs through his veins, and I will stand by him. He is the rightful king of the North. The Lord Stark rising up, they tell him he won this battle, he is the new king of the North. They lost a young wolf, well now they have the White Wolf. The new king of the North is Jon Snow. Every lord rises to be by Jon Snow's side, and you see Sansa glancing at Littlefinger in the back, and the guy's completely fucked. Just look at his face. This was probably my favorite scene in the whole episode, just because I love these themes of loyalty and honor and standing by the ones you should stand by. I love when good wins, and in Game of Thrones, this scene felt even more satisfying. I fucking loved it. I love the lords rising from their seats saying King in the North. I love the confessions of regret and having not stand beside him before, but now they will. They will fight the battles they need to defend the King of the North, and barely do they know they're talking to the rightful King of Westeros. Love the scene, it was beautiful. The music again, it was great. We have Jaime and his garrison with Bronn arriving at King's Landing. They still see the smoke coming from the Sept. He walks into the throne room and we have Cersei's coronation. She's still using that black cloak as if ready for the funeral. And then we see the shot zooming out. Qyburn next to her, Cersei sitting on the Iron Throne, the mountain right next to them, standing over there, imposing as always. This dark room, and everyone's face just depressed. I mean, everyone was sad that they were still alive, I guess. And now, my friends, this shot for Season 7, we will start the reign of the Mad Queen, Cersei Lannister. From the music to the lighting to the mood of the scene to everyone's face, it told you that this is going to go bad. And then we have this massive fleet of ships in the sea. We see the Unsullied on a ship. We see Daenerys and Tyrion and Missandei on another ship. I guess it's another ship. We have these big Targaryen flags with little Kraken Greyjoy flags above it, and then we see 3 dragons flying over the ocean, flying over the sea, and we have Daenerys, Tyrion, Missandei, Varys as well, going into Westeros. They are ready for war. They are going to take what is Daenerys' back. And then we have the 3 dragons coming into the camera. We see the massiveness of this fleet of ships, and we have a blackout, and season is over. Love the scene, love this last shot, love this season as a whole. Fucking love this episode. Directing, writing, music, everything worked for this. Everything 100%, no, 1000% worked. I have only 2 gripes with this episode. One is, how is Varys right here next to Daenerys right now? At least we could have seen Olenna and Ellaria and the Sand Snakes. At least we would have known, okay, they all went there together. Good. Another thing is, I could have done without the whole Dorne thing. I couldn't care less for Dorne because they did such a bad job in Season 5. It's probably the worst plotline of the season. I wish we could have just stayed a little while longer with Arya. Maybe a scene seeing her where she's going. That's all I needed, but that doesn't take anything away from this episode, my friends. Every episode in the season mattered. Every episode was set up to some payoff we got. The only setup we didn't get was the setup of this episode, these last 3 scenes, with Jon Snow proclaimed as the King in the North, Cersei proclaimed as the Queen of Westeros, and Daenerys going into war. Masterful directing all around, great writing in the dialogues, the foreshadowing, the character development in the season. Everything was beautiful, everything paid off beautifully. This, without a doubt, is the best season we ever got of Game of Thrones. I will repeat myself, directing of the episodes was masterful. Meaningful deaths, beautiful foreshadowing, amazing payoff. There is nothing I can take away from the season. Just these last 2 episodes, 9 and 10, Battle of the Bastards and Winds of Winter. You thought Season 5 had 2 last great episodes? Well, look again and check Season 6. This was amazing. It was perfect. I couldn't have asked anything more. I had laughs, I had tears, I felt every range of emotions watching this episode, and I'm sure I'll feel it once again watching the season as a whole next year when it comes to Blu-ray. And you guys know 100% Game of Thrones Season 6 gets a kneel before me. I want to know now what you guys think. Have you read the books? How do you think the season holds up without being based on the book? Have you not read the books? How do you think the season went? Do you think it is the best season of Game of Thrones? Do you think it is the worst? Let me know your rating of the seasons of Game of Thrones. What is your favorite? What is your least favorite? Let me know all of that. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. Let me know what you think will happen in Season 7. In Season 7, I just want war. War, war, war. The North versus Targaryen versus King's Landing. I want everything destroyed. I want everyone to die. Well, not everyone. I want to see a lot of death. I want to see a lot of happy moments if we can. Just little ones to make us rest a little bit. But guys, the important thing is, what did you think of the season of Game of Thrones? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Let me know all of that in comments below. As you go down there to start our conversation, please go to the description below and check out my Facebook and my Instagram. Get always updated on all my social media. On Instagram I always post my thumbnails. On Facebook I always post what I'm going to see, quick thoughts on some movies, what videos I'll make for you, some special announcements, etc, etc. Go check those out please, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe and join our beautiful geeky community. We can be geeky united. Tell your friends, your family, your enemies, tell everyone to join our beautiful community. And if you haven't heard yet, there will be a link to my previous video right here. Thank you so much for watching my season finale review of Game of Thrones. Over here is a link to my previous video, which is my summer anime season preview 2016. Go check that out and see what I will watch this summer. And my Tarzan Q&A is still going on. Ask me any questions you want about anything. Just leave the hashtag #LegendOfTarzanQA. And of course, this week I have many movie reviews, including The Shallows, Central Intelligence, and Free State of Jones. And I'll see you in all those reviews and special videos coming to the Geekness Overlord channel. Cheers!